Welcome back to episode 81 of the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast. My name is Josh. As always, I'm here with Troy. What's going on, Troy? A little bit later on a Wednesday night.
Yeah, we might be pushing the 3 a.m. clock pretty close to go live. But yeah, I'm ready. Had a baseball game tonight. Suns team won, so that's good.
Big success. There you go. Game one in the books. We had our first YouTube live show. Was that Monday? Was that Monday?
Yep, I think so.
Does it seem like a month ago already at this point?
Well, it seems, yeah. It was a blur, and it went real fast, which was good.
It went well. Had a lot of fun. Thanks again to Jeremy Lee for helping us out with that. And, of course, learned that Chicago will be the new home for Connor Bedard, and we'll get into that in a little bit. We do have a huge show today, so going to get right to it. But before we do, just a reminder that the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast is a Patreon podcast. That means that we rely on support from listeners like you to help us cover expenses, continue to produce more and hopefully better hockey card content like our YouTube live show and other stuff we have planned, and help us to fund initiatives, even in a small way, to grow the hockey card hobby. Right now, there's still time to join our out of 99 support level tier on Patreon. It's $5 a month. You also get exclusive access to the Hockey Cards Gongshow Discord server and chat with us and all the other great people on there on a daily basis. It's super easy to do, Troy. All you got to do is either go to hockeycardsgongshow.com, click on the Become a Patron link, or you can go to Patreon's website, patreon.com, and search for Hockey Cards Gongshow. There's a link in the show description for whatever podcast app you're listening to us on right now. And finally, in our social media channels like Instagram and TikTok and our link tree, you can find a link there. All right, Troy, ready for the game plan?
I'm ready. On today's show, we begin with the greatest NHL player to wear number 81. Then we take a quick look at the NHL playoffs. Next, it's on to the news of Connor Bedard heading to Chicago and what that can mean for the Blackhawks and the hobby. We then take a look at hobby news and also do our preview of our favorite hockey cards in the PWCC Weekly Auction. We finish the show with new product releases and our Listener Mailbag segment. Okay, we are on number 81. The greatest NHL player to wear number 81 per the Hockey Writers' greatest player to wear each number article is Marian Hossa. We have broken our streak of names of people might not know of or maybe have heard in the periphery. I believe most of our listeners have heard of Marian Hossa.
I would think so, yeah.
But to be honest, part of me wanted this to be Phil Kessel, and we could do a 15-minute segment on his love of hot dogs. But
Phil's favorite dogs, top five dogs.
We were not that lucky, so we got Marian Hossa, which is a good consolation prize. All right, he is a right winger from Stara Labavana, Czechoslovakia. Hossa was the 12th overall pick in the 1997 NHL Entry Draft by the Ottawa Senators. Hossa played 1,309 regular season games over an 18-season NHL career. Hossa played his first 7 seasons with Ottawa, followed by stints with our favorite Atlanta Thrashers, Pittsburgh, and Detroit, before ending his career with 8 seasons with Chicago.
Any chance they would take him back in the Blackhawks right now?
Yeah, he still looks in good shape. He only retired, I don't know. Well, actually, that's going to be a fun fact. I won't spoil that.
All right.
Don't spoil it. Yeah, for his awards and accomplishments, he's in the Hall of Fame. 3-time Stanley Cup winner, 1999 All-Rookie Team, and he did finish second in Rookie of the Year voting that year to Chris Drury. He is a 5-time All-Star Game selection, 1-time NHL Second All-Star Team, and his number 81 is retired by the Chicago Blackhawks.
I didn't know that. That surprises me a little bit.
And it was just recently. I believe it might have been January this year or maybe late last year. It was pretty recent. Hossa, during his career, had 525 goals, 609 assists for 1,134 points. He made the playoffs in 17 of his 18 NHL seasons, compiling a stat line of 52 goals, 97 assists for 149 points in 205 playoff games played. The best season of his career from a point standpoint was his 2006-07 season, where Hossa had 43 goals, 57 assists for 100 points in 82 games played with, again, our favorite, the Atlanta Thrashers. They need to bring back the Thrashers. Maybe not put them in Atlanta. Don't put them in Atlanta. Put them somewhere where they actually like hockey.
I used to work in media and did a lot of work with CNN, and they took us through it to a Thrashers game. It was sad. The environment was not great.
That sucks. Hossa had 8 seasons of 30-plus goals and 3 seasons with 40-plus goals. In addition, he had 11 seasons of 60-plus points. Now, I was doing a lot of research on Hossa. I actually went kind of crazy with the research, but here's a crazy stat I found that shows just how much Marian Hossa contributed to the offensive shot production for Chicago. The Blackhawks shot attempt differential when Hossa was on the ice at even strength was a plus 1,378. The Blackhawks shots on goal differential when Hossa was on the ice at even strength was a plus 704.
Wow. I've never seen that stat before. Is that commonly used or?
Yeah. Well, shot attempt is Corsi. If you ever hear Corsi, that's shot attempts. I could have called this the Blackhawks Corsi differential.
Gotcha.
But yeah, shot attempts are actually almost more important now than shots on goal. They're finding that there's a lot more correlation with shot attempts than shots on goal. All right. Troy's remembrance of Hossa. I just remember him being a great, solid hockey player. However, the more research, I did multiple hours of research on him last night. The more research I did, the more respect I kind of have gained for him.
Yeah.
His first season with Ottawa, he got sent to the Portland Winterhawks after 7 games. And you read about it in the press and interviews with Hossa, and it's kind of amazing. He doesn't dwell on it. He just states it was the perfect learning experience, allowed him to grow and develop in a winning environment. Boy, I wish more players would take his hint, and I wish he could come to my high school team and talk to girls about what it means to face adversity and not get everything you want right away. I think we'd have a good insight to that. Hossa was truly a well-rounded player that played all aspects of the game well. Hossa's career ended in 2017 when he announced that he was retiring due to a progressive skin disorder, which actually turned out to be eczema. And this was eye-opening for me. I've heard of eczema. I never knew it could be so debilitating. But he was on really
Spitting Chicklets like 6 months ago, and it was to the point like he couldn't wear his equipment or put his gloves on.
I mean, it was horrible. I hope you're not eating right now, but he had basically pus marks, and it would bleed, and he just couldn't do anything. It was really, really bad. Now, here's this is an interesting fact. I didn't put in fun facts. It's an interesting fact, is that while he did not play after the 2016-17 season, he didn't officially retire until 2022 when he did the ceremonial one-day contract with Chicago so he could retire a Blackhawk. Hossa has continued to run a charity. In his retirement, he's built a sports recreation complex. He owns apartments. He has a food distribution company. Sounds like he is making out very well for himself with his life after hockey. Hossa is also one of those guys that was truly concerned with just winning. He turned down multiple offers of way more money during his playing career to sign for less, where he thought he had a better chance to win a cup. And this is the one example I loved reading about. He agreed to a 1-year, $8 million deal with Detroit, but the Red Wings general manager, Ken Holland, wouldn't finalize it until he got the okay from Nicholas Lidstrom, because Hossa would be making more than Lidstrom. And he wanted to make sure Lidstrom was okay with it. Hossa found out, called the general manager, said, I will immediately take $7.4 million because Lidstrom was taking 7.5. Or his salary was 7.5. So he just said, give me 100,000 less and let's go with it. So he wanted to play in Detroit. He thought that's where he had the best opportunity. The money, obviously, it's still a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But it's kind of interesting and cool to hear some of those stories. Patty Kane and Joel Quenneville have called Hossa the perfect hockey player. Per Joel Quenneville, Hossa was no maintenance, smart, comes to play every night, plays the right way, plays in all situations. He even went on to say Hossa always did the right things in the right areas, and as a coach, he was spoiled to have him on his team. Said Hossa just quietly did his job and was the most respected guy because he was such a nice, classy player, a classy guy. There you go. That sums up his career. I don't think you'll hear many ill words spoken of Marian Hossa. Fun fact time. We got lots.
Okay, let's do it. So
how did Hossa come to wear number 81? When Hossa was with Ottawa, he was number 18, and I believe I can't remember how many teams he was 18 with. However, when he signed with Detroit in 2008, the Red Wings had forward Kirk Maltby, who was already wearing number 18. Therefore, Hossa just switched to 81. Not the most exciting story, but still, that's how he got 81.
That seems to happen a lot.
Yep.
But it makes sense.
Kind of just, well, we'll just switch the numbers and call it good. All right, fun fact number 2. In 2009, Hossa signed a 12-year deal with the Chicago Blackhawks for $62.8 million. The contract was heavily front-end loaded, with $59.3 million or 94% of the contract being paid in the first 8 years. I can see where this is going. This led to an NHL investigation and ultimately led to a rule change to about how much money can be front-loaded in contracts. Basically, what the Blackhawks figured out is how to circumvent the salary cap in the later years. And so
I don't understand why that's a bad thing. Because
I think it's part. They think they're circumventing the cap rules, but also I wonder if the union steps in too, because the union wants to protect their players, and maybe they would rather have them get more money during the whole contract. I don't know. I'm going to not say anymore because I'm probably talking out my butt, but I just know that's led to the NHL investigation. He is only the second player to go into the Hall of Fame while still under contract.
Okay, I was going to maybe ask a correction because I'm looking at the show notes and I see right at the top of the page, Hall of Fame, and then you're like, he officially retired in 2022.
Yep.
And I'm like, how does that happen?
So we're going to learn. Yeah, he basically stopped playing in 2017/18. Basically, as X and always done. However, his contract actually got traded to Arizona with some players. It was just like in a throw-in deal. And he officially then he got inducted in the Hall of Fame the next year or 2 years later. But he was still actively under contract. So then he did the ceremonial 1-year deal and retired at Blackhawk. There's the other person, I believe, and I might get this wrong, I'm trying to remember from memory, I think is Chris Pronger, who kind of had the same deal. And I think actually his contract got traded to Arizona too.
Oh, haven't you seen that? Yeah, like they have like a Hall of Fame team that's under contract that haven't played in like 6 years.
It's kind of funny. But I think I'm right on Pronger. I might not be. Someone will correct me. Hossa was the first player in NHL history who played in the Stanley Cup Final in 3 consecutive seasons with 3 different teams: Pittsburgh, Detroit, and Chicago. Finally, number 5, Hossa wrote an autobiography with Scott Powers of The Athletic. Now, I just wanted to put this in there because I haven't read it, but every review I looked at said it's like a must read, and it's just fantastic with the stories that's in it. All right, rookie card. We had to dig deep in the bowels to find this one. 1997-98, Donruss Preferred, number 162. That's what we're going with for his rookie card. He does have an Upper Deck rookie card, but it's not a Young Guns. Mm-hmm. And I basically went to Beckett and PSA and just said, which one's has more graded copies? And it was actually this Donruss Preferred one.
Okay.
So that's the one I decided to use. The PSA 10 has a pop of 49 with a gem rate of 34%. In 2022, this card sold and had a couple of sales for $62.50 USD and $82 USD. His BGS 9.5 copy of this card is a pop of 29, gem rate of 25%. And there was a sale on May 3rd, 2023 for $49.99 USD. Criminally.
Not a big chase.
Criminally not a big chase. But it is what it is. Great topic. Read his autobiography. I bet it's a really good read.
Just thinking here, too, Upper Deck really, I don't think has been adding him a lot to any of the vet subsets or like there's like a jambalaya or anything like that with Marian Hossa. So the guy had 500 goals for gosh sake.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that. I should have looked up and see if he had any more recent cards. Like you said, maybe the jambalaya or whatever, but he should. I would love if he was in that signature edition Legends. I don't know if he is.
I was just thinking that too, if there was a Future Watch auto for him in that.
Yeah.
That would have been kind of cool. All right, well, Marian Hossa, so at 81. Okay, we want to do a quick NHL playoffs update. We're not going to do who's hot in the struggle bus because the games are getting more spread out. There's less teams and less games now, but the playoffs are still going on and a lot of intrigue with the games. So we're recording this, like we said, a little bit later on Wednesday night. The Leafs survived, Troy. They'll play a Game 5.
They live on to Game 5. Good for them.
They will live on to Game 5. The Devils are also on the ropes. So really, I think Maple Leafs and Devils are the 2 teams on the ropes. We did have a Luke Hughes emergence, though, since our last show. He played the past couple of games for New Jersey. Does have 2 assists, but is -3. I think it's really shaping up for him and Matthew Nyes to be probably the big chases in Series 1 for 2023-24. How does that sit with you? Do you think if those two guys are the headliners of nothing's going to compare to UD2, but do you think that makes for an interesting kind of new product release and a strong chase?
I think it's a strong chase if you're a Toronto fan. But I don't know. And being a Gopher fan, I would actually try to get some of his cards. And Luke Hughes is fine, but
defenseman.
Yeah, he's a defenseman. Nice. Is he a center or what's he officially listed as? Do we know?
I think he's playing wing, but
yeah,
I'm not sure.
So it's not the most exciting, I don't think, to the general hobby or the general hockey market, but I would definitely be interested in it. But I don't think it's as good as previous years.
Taking the hobby perspective too on the Devils and Leafs, with them being on the ropes, it's not a great thing. I mean, there's some big primetime players that are, for all intents and purposes, hanging on by a thread here and probably will be bounced. You have Austin Matthews, of course, Mitch Marner, and Jack Hughes. Florida and Carolina don't quite have the hobby star power that, of course, the Devils and Maple Leafs do. Still waiting for that Tkachuk breakthrough, and he is inching up, Troy. Tkachuk had, this was before tonight where I think he had another assist, but he had 5 goals, 10 assists for 15 points in the first 10 games of the playoffs, so that's pretty good. His sales, like I said, are trending up. His 2016 Young Gun PSA 10 popped 738, that sold for 175 US, which is up 33% in the past couple weeks. So good sign, I guess, for him, and decent sign of a healthy market because he's been pretty awesome so far in these playoffs. Beyond that, Dallas and Edmonton, Troy, they seem to be a little bit up and down in their series. Is that what you've noticed too? It's like, depending on the game, they either win by a lot or get smoked.
Yep. They're kind of leading this trend of the blowouts are starting to happen, which is kind of crazy, but I guess maybe that makes sense with the regular season, how many goals we saw. I don't know if you're going to, I don't think you, oh, you do. I'll wait for my snarky comment here in a little bit, but yeah, I did watch that Dallas-Seattle game. And it was kind of crazy. And I think Seattle replaces their goalie, scores 2 goals, makes it like 5-3. And I'm like, oh boy, are we going to see a comeback? But then it didn't happen. But Dallas looked good in that game. Pavelski again scores. He's just defying time and age and playing fantastic.
What about the cut on Miro Heiskanen's face?
Oh, that thing looks ugly. It still looks like it hurts.
You know what I've noticed? So with him and somebody else in the playoffs, all of a sudden, and this is a good thing, I'm not knocking it at all, they're all wearing the eye-techs now. And it's like, I thought like hell or high water, no NHL player 10 years ago would have ever worn a face shield.
So
right?
I'm curious, what players had the eye-tech? Because I believe there's an NHL rule that you cannot wear a full eye-tech unless you're injured. And
it was Heiskanen had one on last night. And then when Timo Meier came back, I think
and he's injured too. Yeah, it's a really crazy rule that a lot of people don't understand, and I actually think it has to do with peripheral visions. I think what the NHL said or in the studies, because the full shield will block your vision down, and what they don't want is going into the corner and putting your head down to see a puck and then going straight in. I had to try to explain it to my wife. She was asking the question, and she's like, "It doesn't make sense. Why can't they wear a full face shield if they wanted to?" And then you got a couple players. We were actually laughing at this too, like Jamie Benn doesn't wear a shield at all. He's been grandfathered in. I don't know how many people are still left.
Revo too, right?
Yeah, Reeves doesn't wear one either. I'm sure that how many other guys are out there that have been grandfathered in since that rule.
Handful of guys. And then again, bringing it back to the hobby, Troy, the goalies. Holy cow.
Oh my God.
How could you possibly even try to invest in a goalie right now in the playoffs? It's just wild, right? You have Skinner, who has not been great. He's 4-4, 3.60 goals against, .888 save percentage. His 2020 Young Gun PSA 10 pop 668, 75% gem rate is selling right now for about 94 US. It's down 5%, which seems like it's good that it's only down 5% because he's been a little spotty. And then our guy Ottinger has been really up and down too. He's 6-4 so far in the playoffs, 2.71. Goals against, .903 save percentage. His 2020 Young Gun PSA 10 pop 780, 51% gem rate is selling less than Skinner, if you believe that, in the 90 US range, down 14% in the past 2 weeks. You got, maybe Grubauer, who's been okay. But he's 6-5, 2.97 goals against. And I don't know, is Officer Bob Bobrovsky, is he the goalie of the playoffs so far? He's 6-1, a little bit high goals against, 3.13, 0.909 save percentage. But I don't know. I'm just looking at it like from that, okay, you want to invest in a goalie or maybe try to flip a goalie in the playoffs. I think it's just stay away, Terry.
Yeah, it's you just stay away and let them keep imploding, I guess.
It's like Ottinger could have a shutout and then let in 6 goals in 2 periods in the next game. That's just like the way that seems this is going.
Yeah, it's the story of the playoffs right now, I think, is the goaltending. I'm curious I haven't looked at it, what all these advanced analytics are going to show around goalie play, and maybe kind of solidifying some of the thought that we had in the regular season that goalies are struggling.
And the best example is the whole Devils situation.
Oh, God.
So for 3 games, we have Akira Schmid, who looks like, and it would have been fun. I'm bummed that hasn't continued his streak, but he was amazing for 3 games, and his young guns was doubling, tripling, and then he has some terrible starts. He gets pulled 2 or 3. I think you said last show 2 or 3 starts in a row for Vanacek. So then they start Vanacek last night, and he gets pulled, and Schmidt goes. It's just like the revolving door of goalies for New Jersey.
Here's my comment on the Devils. They need to just find their e-bug, get him in the game, and just start the e-bug, because the regular guys aren't doing anything. I'm sure they have a third string that's not the e-bug. I would love it if an e-bug had to play in the playoffs. That means you went through your 3 goalies, and then you had to get to the e-bug. But what a mess. And what do you do if you're the head coach? You're just like, I give up. Like, anyone want to stop a puck? Just stop a puck, please.
Yeah, they were talking about that the other night in the Edmonton-Vegas game when, is it Brousseau? Is that his name? He got hurt.
Yeah, he got hurt.
They had to have Jonathan Quick suit up from the locker room, and how that being allowed to carry 3 goalies is helpful in the playoffs. Yeah. Okay, we want to talk Connor Bedard, but before that, need to make a quick mention for Gongshow partner and sponsor Slab Sharks. Thank you to them for their continued support of our show. The current weekly Slab Sharks auction ends tonight, Thursday night, so be sure to go to slabsharks.com, get a link to the auction. Like every week, Troy, their hockey cards just get better and better. They seem to have really found a system to source some crazy hockey cards from Canadian collectors. You went deep in last week's auction. We're going to reveal your cards soon.
Should be in hand tomorrow.
Nice. So how was the buyer process for you? I mean, did you notice anything?
I just, won the auction. I read the instructions that said if you win multiple items, they will send an invoice. I did read that, and of course I also sent a message saying, hey, here's the cards I won. Please send me an invoice. I got an invoice within probably 5 to 10 minutes of sending that message. And it was very easily explainable. I knew what my shipping cost was. I paid it, and it went out on Tuesday, and it will be here tomorrow. So
seems like a pretty
2 to 3 days shipping.
Yeah. Good job, Slab Sharks there. If you're a Canadian hockey card collector and looking to turn some of your cards into cash, we'd strongly recommend looking at Slab Sharks for your eBay consignment services. They do all the work, Troy. Handle all the hassles. Expose your cards to lots of potential buyers in both Canada and the U.S. via their very popular weekly auctions. If you want information about their consignment services, you can go to slabsharks.com as well. Okay, so Monday was a huge day in the hockey world, in the hockey card hobby. One of the biggest hobby questions that, I was trying to think, how long has kind of Connor Bedard been in the hobby lexicon now where he's had hype in a year and a half?
Yeah, he's had hype. I think it really picked up the last year. Really picked up once this finals or his season started with the CHL and just how crazy it was going and the highlights. I mean, every game there's a new crazy highlight. It's just absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm. So Chicago, of course, won the NHL Draft lottery and has the number 1 pick and the rights to presumably select Connor Bedard in the NHL Entry Draft, unless something crazy happens, like he gets run over by the struggle bus or something like that. Wouldn't that be sad?
Struggle bus takes a wrong turn down a one-way in Chicago. Because downtown Chicago is kind of crazy for driving. It could. So you never know where the struggle bus might veer off to. My wife was asking, well, they could trade the pick, right? I'm like, no. This is the one time I'm going to say no. They're not dumb. No. They're not going to sit there and try to.
You can never, whatever you get back,
Well,
1,000 pieces will never equal a generational talent like that. So that would be craziness. So coming into the draft lottery, Troy, Chicago had an 11.5% chance to get to the number one pick, which was the third best odds. We talked about it before, but they really kind of fumbled the bag in the last week of the season.
Mm-hmm.
They did have the number one odds and kind of won a few games that they probably shouldn't have, and that dropped them to number 3, but it worked out and they got the number one pick anyways. Anaheim had the best odds at over 25%, followed by Columbus was second on odds at 13.5%. Up until Chicago leapfrogged both Anaheim and Columbus, the lottery played out exactly accordingly to the odds from pick 16 to number 3, which was, and I'll kind of reference our live show. I was a little bit shell-shocked and confused. Like, is something wrong here? Because it just seemed inconceivable.
Well, I thought more about it, and you read the lottery process again. There's really only 2 draws. All they do is they pick the number 1 team, then that's the number 1. And then they do another draw for whoever's second, and then the rest falls into line, is how I believe it went.
Oh, okay. Well, then that makes sense.
Yeah, I was confused on that too, but once I read the process again, I was like, oh, that makes sense. I mean, one of those teams at the bottom could have jumped. We could have had a jump earlier than it did. But yeah.
The last time, Troy, that Chicago had the number 1 overall pick was in 2007 when they took, do you remember?
Oh, I know. Patty Kane.
Yeah, Patty Kane. So not bad to have the number 1 pick. And the worst is to get to the number 1 pick in a year where there's no really good prospects. That's what would happen to the Wild if they ever got that pick.
Well, the good thing this year, too, is that it's a pretty deep prospect pool. They're calling it top-heavy this year. Top-heavy.
So I want to do our Bedard conversation really in 3 parts. So first we'll tackle kind of the market fit and what's best for the NHL and the game of hockey and its growth potential. Then we'll look at the team fit, the hockey fit, like how good are the Blackhawks? What do they need to do to build around him? And then we'll look at the hobby impact. So from a market fit and opportunity point of view, well, first of all, do you think Chicago fans were excited? And we were kind of sharing this together. Within an hour and a half of Chicago winning the lottery, the Blackhawks had already sold $2.5 million in season ticket sales. That included, Troy, more than 500 new season ticket holders. So, yeah, I think they're pretty jacked up.
That's crazy.
And our contention all along is that what's best for the game would be for Bedard to go to a market that's number 1 in the U.S. I'll, again, reference that Snoop Dogg quote that we talked about on last show about Connor McDavid, where I'm going to read it again just because I think it really illustrates this point. And Snoop says, the NHL doesn't know who to market.
Yeah.
Like, McDavid is the best athlete in the world, but you talk to most folks in the U.S. and they have no clue who the F he is. Didn't swear there, but you get the point. So I think having him in the U.S. will make him, the exposure will be so much more here and a lot easier to market to the American audience than it is a player in Edmonton, of course. So does having Bedard in the U.S. solve the NHL marketing problems? No. But again, it makes it an easy situation for a lot of us to be able to see him play. Chicago, of course, is in the central time zone, meaning it'll be easy for both ESPN and TNT to schedule national TV games that they need to start at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock on the East Coast. It's hard to do that when you're in Anaheim, right? So I think that'll be a big boom. Chicago is also the 3rd largest TV market in the U.S., which is helpful. And it's an original 6 storied franchise. It's really a ideal situation for the game of hockey. You know, whether you like the Blackhawks or not, and believe me, and I think I speak for you, we're Wild fans, so we've been rivals with the Blackhawks for many years and don't love seeing them get a potential superstar. But again, for the game to it's like put up on a tee for the NHL to whiff.
Yep.
It
is. It's really up to the NHL to blow it with this one. If they can't blow it with him.
Going back to McDavid real quick too, for as many reasons as you can make the argument that it's good spot for him in Edmonton, there's just as many arguments that you could make that maybe it'd be better for him to be in the U.S. too, right? And so for all the reasons we talked about, and I guess the way I look at it, if Bedard pans out as the hockey world hopes it does, then you kind of get the best of both worlds. You have this really great Canadian player in Canada, you have one in the U.S., and it just is a good thing, I think, for the game. So my market fit grade, like of all the places he could go, I think is an A+. It's a huge opportunity for the NHL. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree 100% that's where we said he should end up. I think it puts a lot of nice pieces in place for the NHL. And like I said, it's up to them to blow this, or the Blackhawks to blow this. I don't know how you want to say it. But I do, in a way, I actually hate that the Blackhawks did get rewarded for tanking. Even though they tried to blow it at the end and screw that up, they do get rewarded for tanking. And it's not like Chicago hasn't had championships recently. It's just, they lucked into it, and congrats to them. But I do think it's the right place that he should have ended up for growing the game in the U.S. and the hobby.
Okay, let's switch now to the hockey opportunity and team fit for, especially in the short term, for Bedard. And this is where I admit that I had kind of glossed over. I was just so focused on get the kid in the U.S., get him in the Central Eastern time zone. And admittedly, I haven't been paying super close attention to the Blackhawks roster. And there was a part of me that after about 2 minutes, Troy, was like, maybe it'd be better off in Anaheim, because holy smokes are the cupboards bare in Chicago. There is nobody. Have you looked at their roster?
I did a little bit. Not that in depth, but I remember reading an article where they're talking about if Bedard does go to Chicago, like they're going to need I know they have tons of money under the cap. They're going to have to sign some free agents to get him some help, because their roster itself is pretty bare, like you said.
Currently on their roster, they had 2 20-goal scorers in the regular season. Andreas Athanasio, is that how you say his name? It's like the hardest name in the NHL, so...
Looks great. I think you said it perfect. Yeah. Let's be confident that you said it right, and then we'll get told that we were way off.
Well, he had 20 goals, 28-year-old center. He had scored 30 goals one other time in his career, but typically like a 15-goal-a-season guy. Played 8 years now. He's also a pending unrestricted free agent. Then the only other guy who had 20 goals was Taylor Radish, who's 25, second NHL season. Had 11 goals between Chicago and Tampa Bay in year one. So not a lot of goal scoring pedigree there. Leading point guys from this past season that are still on the roster were Athanasio, with 40 points, and Seth Jones and Taylor Radish each had 37 points. So adding Bedard will be a huge piece, but they're going to need to beef up this roster, though, via their prospect pool or free agency or trades, because, like I said, cupboards are pretty bare. So I did some research on the prospects, Troy, and I think I kind of went through their top 3 or 4 maybe, but most people are aware with the number 1 prospect, Lucas Reichel. Well, he's probably the number 2 prospect now, right? He's a 20-year-old center / wing, selected 17th overall in the 2020 draft. This past season in the AHL, he had 20 goals, 31 assists for 51 points and 51 games played, so point per game guy. In the AHL, in the NHL, he played 23 games, had pretty decent numbers, Troy. 7 goals, 8 assists for 15 points. I read a bunch of articles about him. It seems like consistency, and especially like on the defensive end, looking to get a little bit bigger, stronger, like he's 20, are some of the things that they want him to work on. But he's probably the most NHL-ready prospect that they have. Then they have an 18-year-old defenseman named Kevin Korchinski, who was actually the 7th overall pick in last summer's draft. He was acquired, Troy, in the DeBrincat trade with Ottawa.
I was like, that name sounds so familiar, and that's probably where I heard it.
He played for Seattle in the WHL last year and was actually a big point producer. He's a defenseman. He had 11 goals, 62 assists for 73 points and 54 games played. 18 years old, though. I don't know how NHL ready he'll be at this point. It seems like a stretch to move him up. And I know, well, I got to throw this other stat in here, true, because it just kind of blew my mind. But I know you're not entirely a plus-minus guy. He was a plus 50 in the WHL season last year. So that's got to mean something, right?
Yeah, when it's that high, you start thinking, well, maybe there's something to it.
The next best prospect seems to be a kid named Frank Nazar, who's 19 years old, 5'9" center, currently at University of Michigan. He was selected 13th overall in last summer's NHL Entry Draft. So they have the number 7 pick from last summer, the number 13 pick, and then from the year before, they have the number 17 pick. The story, though, on Nazar is he was expected to have a big freshman season this year at Michigan, but had hip surgery, and missed a good chunk of the year. I think he came back right at the end. He's going to return to Michigan next year for a sophomore season, so he won't be an immediate help. So it seems like overall they have a decent pipeline of rookies. It's just hard to judge at this point not being a scout or living and breathing this area of hockey, who's going to be, it seems like Reichel is probably the only guy you could really count on right away, unless it's some other guys that are more advanced in their development that are further down their prospect list. That's kind of the prospect report that you could build around Bedard, and Reichel could be a good option for a line mate. And then there's free agency. You had mentioned that this cap space, they have a ton of it, 41 million, the number one team. So that's helpful. So I went through, Troy, and did a list of all the pending unrestricted free agents. I'll just go down the list quickly, and you stop me if any of these names are interesting to you, and I'll maybe point out a couple myself. So there's Patrick Kane. I just don't see that happening.
I wouldn't know. If you moved on with him now, it's over. He was a great player for your organization a long time. I would not bring him back. Like, there's too many complications.
Now, Taves is still under contract.
That's what I was going to say. So I'm going to put a plug in here. If anyone ever wants a website that shows you the most in-depth roster salary stuff you will ever want or know, it's called Cap Friendly. It is a gold mine. And I was just looking, that actually just caught my eye. I was like, oh, he's still signed? Where he's an unrestricted free agent next year, 23-24. But for some reason, I was thinking he was gone, and I brain farted there. But yeah.
Would it be a good idea to kiss and make up for another year and have him mentor him?
Yeah, I don't know how many hurt feelings there are. But yes, I think having him as a mentor, if he would be willing to do that, would be fantastic. Yeah. You couldn't ask. We kind of talked about it with Jeremy. You almost couldn't ask for a better scenario there.
Next guy is actually, we poke fun a lot at Ryan O'Reilly. But
that'd be great.
The more I'm thinking about it, that's not a bad fit for him.
No.
Big veteran presence. Who knows if he can stay healthy all next year. Then there's Tarasenko. I don't think so, dude.
Nah.
Kyle Okposo, Timo Meyer, Jason Zucker.
Boy, these names are just screaming at us, aren't they? Holy cow.
Evgeny Dadonov. He's looked pretty good for Dallas. I don't know if they'll try to re-sign him, but that might be. What about Tyler Bertuzzi? Put a little feisty guy in a little bit of a protector.
I think Bertuzzi's someone they're going to go after. And not that I have inside sources, but you read enough beat writers and pundits, and they're all touting Bertuzzi as someone they're really targeting. So I could see Bertuzzi be one of those guys.
Thomas Tatar.
I just like his last name.
Yeah. Nick Foligno. I don't know what his situation is in Boston. He's another guy that'd be just a tough winger that could be a little bit of a protector, but I'm not sure if he'll get re-signed. JT Compher.
I actually know his sister more than I know him because she plays in Wisconsin. Yeah, she plays in Wisconsin. So I've probably seen more games of her playing than it.
Eric Holla. That one's kind of interesting to me. I've been watching him. He's really impressed me more so than when he was on the Wild a number of years ago with the Devils. And it seems like that from what I've read that they want like speedy wingers that can, and he might fit the bill there. Jesper Fast, Michael Bunting. I don't see that happening.
I think you stay away from Bunting.
Max Domi.
Domi, I don't see it. Well, I was thinking Domi. Is he okay? This is where Troy fails miserably. Who was Domi?
He's in
Chicago?
Dallas,
or is he on?
Yeah, he was on Chicago, and they traded him to Dallas.
That's right. Okay, my brain was like going around in circles because I'm like, I thought he was on Chicago, but I wonder if they maybe try to bring him back. I think might be an interesting play.
Yeah, and then do they bring back Andreas Athanasio? That's the list. It's not like there's no Mitch Marner on the list.
No, to me, the interesting one is Taves. Like, I think that's a very interesting idea, but I don't know if they want to go down that route.
And then the other option would be trades. They seem to have a decent prospect pool. It's rated number 5. I forgot to mention that. So, Wild, they're number 1. Just got to throw that in there. We have nothing else going for us.
We have nothing else going for us. Our coach is coming back. They had to write.
So maybe they package some prospects or some picks and try to put a team. But the bottom line is you have to assume they'll be active this summer. You can't hang this kid out to dry.
No.
Right? Because as the team is presently constituted, he's just going to get killed and they'll just completely key in on him. And he's not Superman. He can't play a team by himself. Anything else on the hockey fit, or should we move on to the hobby impact? I
was thinking about one thing. I'm looking up his contract status. What about going to get Ryan Reeves? He's unrestricted free agent. If you need someone to protect your new shiny toy, he might be someone you can get. And you can get him cheap. Reeves ain't coming.
Our guy? I want the Wild to sign him.
Well, I know.
I want the Wild to re-sign him.
I get you, but I thought that might be an interesting play too. Just not from a pure hockey. He's not going to get you a lot of points and goals, but a little protection there for a cheap amount of money.
Okay, let's look at the hobby. So, key question. Is Connor Bedard landing in Chicago a home run for the hobby, in your opinion?
I think so. Why not? I mean, original six team, huge market, third biggest television market. You got the Nationals there every, couple years, 2 to 3 years. You're going to have silly patches, hopefully. And I will give a shout out. I think it was Mitch Grotman who said Upper Deck better take pictures and show every single one of those patch cards that they make for him, so we don't have any fakes. Because, boy, if you're going to fake a card, that's probably one to do it. I think it's a great spot for him to land in for the hobby.
Yeah, it's just going to be, I think, a total fever pitch all next year. It'll start, so just to kind of talk through for all of us how this will play out, is it's going to start with MVP. You're going to have your silver scripts, your gold scripts. Those are going to go for stupid money, and then they'll immediately be forgotten when the Young Guns comes out.
What about the superscript? The superscript out of 25.
Yeah, who knows what they might do for MVP for Bedard. We could see rookie sets next year like we haven't seen before. And then we got to remember, too, that artifacts will likely come out before Series 2. So you'll have Bedard in artifacts, sort of. Because it'll most likely, 99% it'll be a redemption. So we're going to have crazy expensive Bedard MVP cards and then these like stupid like Roman numeral redemption cards that are going to be going for $2,000 on eBay left or more, on eBay left or right. But really the first in-hand card should be Upper Deck Series 2. And the reason being, and so I do want to cover real quickly sort of the Series 1, Series 2. When Upper Deck shifted their printing of Flagship and whatever other products they do to Italy, that created more production time because, of course, you have to ship cards over the ocean.
Got to put them on a boat.
Put them on a boat and get them through customs and all that good stuff. So it really has limited them to using what they term as holdover rookies. I haven't got like an exact definition of that, but that would be like a... Remember, too, that in order to be in Young Guns, you have to have skated on the ice in an NHL game in an NHL uniform. So that's where we get the notion that like a Matthew Knives.
I was going to say, that's Knives. That sounds like Knives to me right there.
Yeah, Luke Hughes, right? Those are the guys that are going to be in Series 1. So it'll put Bedard in Series 2. And I think the key thing there to me that I keep thinking about is that adds risk to the whole Bedard. If Bedard was in Series 1 and he had 2 games under his belt or whatever in the preseason when it comes out, it's a total fever pitch, hoopla. Everybody's going crazy. If you look at when Series 2 came out this year, it's 4.5 months into the season. Mm-hmm. So what could happen? Is he playing in the NHL? Well, I think there's a good chance that's happening. It's not going to... Can you imagine if Bedard was in the Shane Wright press box? How people would...
That'd be not good.
But then it comes down to how many points is he producing. He may be on such a horrible team that he has almost no chance to put up big numbers, right? If the team's got awful. Is he healthy?
Yep.
A lot of people I've heard reference the Connor McDavid situation where he got injured right away. And all this stuff is going to factor into when Series 2 finally comes out, kind of where the market and how crazy people are going to go. And so why I wanted to run through that, Troy, is if in your mind it's like, well, I'm cashing my 401k and I'm going to pre-order cases of Series 2, you have to acknowledge that there's an element of risk there that exists because it is Series 2 rather than if it was Series 1.
Yep, that's the big uncertainty right now. I hope it doesn't happen, but you got to factor it in, right? Everything's risk-reward, and you're going to have a 3 to 4 months of sitting on your hands and just praying that nothing happens to him if you're a Bedard believer. And then with that, hoping that he's scoring, I don't know, he has 30 goals or 20 goals by the time Series 2 comes out.
The funnest part of Monday was the sort of Bedard effect when tracking Lucas Reichel.
The ComC sales that the one guy.
Oh, my gosh.
I forgot his name. I feel terrible. I should have wrote it down, but I'm an idiot. But yeah, the one guy was
it Schwab's or Seba or Schwab's?
One of them was given, our ComC Lucas Reichel Young Guns.
Correspondent.
Correspondent.
Right. I just checked before we start recording, and Reichel is still selling around $26 US raw. So on April 29th, as an example, and I picked that date because there's 3 sales. They were all like $6.50. So what's that,
great.
4X?
That's great.
just the sort of the Bedard factor, the Bedard effect, if you want to call it that. And the last thing I'll say about the hobby, I've been thinking about this a little bit too over the last few days, is how amazing next year could really be in our hobby and how much fun it should be. And I keep reminding myself to make sure that I enjoy it. Not only are we going to have this generational talent in the social media era with finding out all the big hits right away and the instant communication, but we still have Crosby. We're going to have Ovi getting closer and closer to Gretzky's goal mark. We have Draisaitl, McDavid, Matthews, some really talented young players, and Zegras, Hughes, Robertson, Caulfield, Tage Thompson, right? It feels like the glory days are upon us. Any closing marks you have on Bedard?
No, I just wanted to get here. Now we got the fun summer waiting game. We'll have the actual draft. That'll be fun. But it's funny. It's going to be who's going to go 2, 3, 4 over who's going number 1. Where last year it was who's going to go number 1. So that will be interesting to see, but I can't wait.
And just really quickly too, I can get pretty excited about Adam Fantilli with Zegras and McTavish and Jamie Drysdale on Anaheim. So pretty decent consolation prize.
And that unknown Russian guy that not unknown, but a lot of speculation around him and questions, and he keeps moving up, down people's rankings. It's like no one really knows what to make of him.
Okay, we're going to switch over to hobby news really quick. Some kind of sad or bummer news out of Colorado. Avalanche captain Gabriel Landeskog is expected, Troy, to miss the 2023-24 NHL season and will undergo a cartilage transplant in his right knee. That does not sound good.
That sounds horrible. So I'm assuming they put it in and it grows and does its thing. And
I don't know. It'll be his 4th surgery since 2020. Ugh. Unfortunately, he's had a pretty rough go of it these past couple years. He is intent on playing again, which, of course, you have to admire. And I read some articles, and he said he's going to exhaust every possibility. He still thinks he has a lot to contribute to the game. It got me thinking, though, and I was curious to get your perspective on this because you've been a lot more around hockey teams than I have. But at what point do you think the Avs would appoint a new captain? I know they don't want to disrespect Landeskog in the least bit, and he's been a great captain for them. But if the captain truly is an important position on the team, he hasn't been there 2 years.
Yeah, I would give the seat to someone else. No questions asked just for the upcoming season. I don't know what they did. What did they do this year?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. You don't want to disrespect him, but you got to move on eventually. I mean, 4 surgeries in 3 years doesn't sound very promising. At least it's not the hip shaving. I think that's the one that is the worst. But he's still young.
What Nicholas Backstrom
he's
had?
Still young, man. Landeskog.
Yeah,
he's only 30. It's not like I mean, he's not a spring chicken, but it's like that's kind of concerning.
When you don't have cartilage in your knee, though, that's not a
bone on bone.
The Bill Masterton Memorial Trophy finalists have been announced. I know you stayed up all night, right?
I stayed up all night trying to pronounce it because every time I've read that name for an award, I say Masterson. I don't know why. It's just how I am. I know it's Masterton, but I have been corrected many a time on that. But you said it right, so good job. And he's a nice guy.
I actually was looking at a Instagram post from NHL.com, and they spelled it Masterson, which was kind of funny. Suckers. They tried to trick me. The Bill Masterton Memorial Trophy is awarded annually to the player who best exemplifies the quality of perseverance, sportsmanship, and dedication to hockey. So it's basically the Perseverance Award. Finalists this year are Clayton Keller, Chris Letang, and Alex Stalock. Feels like it's almost a slam dunk for Chris Letang, given he had another stroke this year and came back almost right away and had to deal with his father passing too, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was pretty rough. And just in case anyone's newer to the game, Bill Masterton is the only NHL player to die from the result of an on-ice injury.
I didn't know that. Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, it's with the North Stars.
In other news, these kind of next 2 stories are a little bit related, but so Fanatics Live, Troy, is really starting to ramp up. They're now accepting applications from breakers. So that must mean that and I think they had said like Q3 or Q4 this year is when they plan to go live. It's on the applications on their link tree in their Instagram where you can go apply. And then here's another one that really kind of threw me today a little bit. And I got this from Coach Co's TikTok. Again, go follow him on TikTok. He is amazing. hobby updates and news. So apparently DraftKings is getting into breaking now too.
Can I bet on the breaks?
No, they're doing it in the weirdest way. I spent like 45 minutes trying to figure this out.
Okay, let's hear this.
So they're starting with 2018-19 Prism Basketball, which is like the Luka Doncic, Ja Morant year. I think it's Ja Morant. And their format, though, is crazy. And I've never seen this before. Maybe you have. So they're auctioning off, quote unquote, like tickets. And one ticket is 2 packs. So a box of Prism Basketball has 12 packs in it. So they would auction 6 different tickets. And that would fill the break because each ticket is 2 packs. You following?
I am not, because Harley is howling. So I hate to do this. Can you start over?
That's good.
I'm horrible.
So they're auctioning off tickets, and 1 ticket equals 2 packs.
Okay.
And there's 12 packs in a box. So they have 6 kind of spots or tickets that they're calling them, which is a very strange way to put it. And it starts at $100 with $10 bid increments. So and I think they're doing like 4 boxes, and it's May 11th. So the day our podcast comes out. But what's kind of funny is like when you go on their website and you go to their page, Troy, they don't even like tell you like where you watch the break. So you can tell that they're like super new to this. And I don't know if they spent any time on Whatnot or any other platform trying to figure out how breaks work, but I don't know. It's a sign that you have these companies like DraftKings that are seeing the money and seeing the opportunity in breaking. And I guess they're giving it a shot. They're calling it the break. It's kind of funny too. But.
Do you think they're just trying to confuse you so much that you don't realize how much money you're spending? It's like when you go to a theme park and they sell you stuff. Stuff isn't in dollars; it's in tickets. So you have to buy tickets. Yeah. It is literally just like that. You buy tickets to go on the carnival rides. It's not dollars. You kind of forget how much you're spending. But oh boy, that seems really odd that DraftKings is getting into breaking. But like you said, follow the money. Always follow the money.
I think it's a good thing. The more you can expose cards to different audiences, the better. And they probably see the connection with sports betting, of course, and people spend money on sports and people spend money on cards.
I'm thinking, like, could they do kind of a deal? Boy, this would get dicey, I bet, legally, but maybe. You do a break, you buy, say you get the Edmonton Oilers. As a promotion, you also get the Oilers money line for that night. Or just trying to do something like promotions with gambling. I don't know how legal that is or what dicey regulation stuff they'd get into, but my mind's erasing.
Yeah, the DGen side of you is
and I don't sports bet because I'm a good guy. We don't have it in Minnesota. When I go to Iowa, I'll put it like $1 on something.
I'm assuming they'll legalize in Minnesota at some point. I can tell, will be the king of 85 different $1 to $2 sports.
I know. I'll have $1 bets, $2 bets. I'll be showing my wife, look at this bet. I won 30 cents.
Okay, we got to move on. It's time for our PWCC Weekly Hockey Preview. PWCC is a Gongshow partner and sponsor. We want to thank them for helping us to make our show possible too. The current PWCC auction, Troy, is live on PWCCmarketplace.com. 190 hockey cards in this week's weekly auction. As always, we pick out some of our favorite vintage and modern cards, and we'll go through them now, starting with vintage. The first card that I selected is a 1964 Topps Stan Mikita PSA 6. It's a tall boy.
You love the tall boys.
Top 55.
You love the tall boys.
You're a big fan?
You love the tall boys.
Yeah.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm fine with them. I don't hate them. I don't love them.
I like them better, like in this case, when they're graded, and I know that they're protected in the slab because I don't have to worry about them being an untraditional size and getting dinged or bent or anything like that. I've always been a fan of this set. Like Stan Mikita, appreciate him and his story. And for PSA 6, this is a really nice card. I'll get into that in a second. First of all, it's not super rare at Pop 55. There's 160 graded higher. It's just a really cool representation of a legendary NHL player and his career. It is a mid-career card, too, as Mikita's rookie is the 1960 Topps. And looking at the design, Troy, Tallboy card, of course, they have a yellow background. Nice picture of Mikita in that classic Blackhawks sweater from about the knees up. Condition-wise, a tiny bit off center from right to left, but the card really, for PSA 6, looks super, super nice. If you don't know anything about Mikita or not super aware of him, he's a Hall of Fame center from the Slovak Republic, played his entire 22-year career with the Blackhawks. Wait, a lot of big Blackhawks theme today. We got Bedard, of course, Hossa, and Marian Hossa and Stan Mikita now. In 1961, he became the first Slovak-born player, Troy, to win the Stanley Cup.
I was going to say, who another Slovak player is that won the Stanley Cup? Marian Hossa.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He was born in Czechoslovakia, but he played for Slovakia.
Mikita was regarded as one of the best NHL centers of the 1960s. He scored 541 goals, 926 assists for 1,467 points and 1,394 career games. He won the Hart Trophy, Troy, in 1967 and 68. The Art Ross in 64, 65, 67, and 68, so 4 times there. Only did win the one Stanley Cup in 1961, though. It was his 3rd season in the league. In 2017, he was named to the NHL's 100 Greatest Players list. An all-time high sale for 1964 tops Stan Mikita PSA 6 Pop 55 was $300 in March 2022. Most recent sale was a lot lower at $94 this past January. And when you get prices like this on lower grade cards that there's more copies or there's more population, a lot of the pricing comes down to the condition of the card. There's going to be a spectrum of PSA 6s. Some don't look really good and some look really good like this card. So, and that's, again, another one of the reasons why I picked this one specifically, because I think for a PSA 6, it's a really, really nice representation. Well, do you have the current bid?
I do. It is $21.
Ooh, huge money.
Huge money. All right,
you got the next one?
My turn. I love it. 1970, Russian national team postcards, Vladislav Tretiak, PSA 3. Okay, again, I got to find...
Wait, before you get started, can I just make one comment?
Yep.
So, it just seems like the last couple months, I tend to look at the auctions first. I'm getting so good. I wish I could bet on DraftKings or FanDuel which card Troy's going to pick, because I saw this card and I'm like, oh, there it is. Troy's pick with a bullet for sure. Now,
where you didn't get asked the question, it's like, oh, do you have anything about Tretiak that you want to tell us? I actually have trained with Tretiak. He was in North Dakota when I went to the international, I can't remember, it's like some international hockey school for a goalie camp. And Tim Chevelday and Tretiak were the goalie instructors. Fascinating guy, really cool. Complete Russian. It was awesome. He was great. The thing that was great about it was telling us the stories of his training. And it's like nowadays, kids would die. They would just die from the training they did. It was insane. If you ever see footage of like the Red Army team and their dry land training, it's just something else.
Did he hold like an Oreo to his ear? Very angry acid.
Yeah. Is that Little Rounders action? Yeah. First time we brought Rounders up on the show. All right, this card. And, well, let's technically, it's not a hockey card. It's a postcard, but I'm calling it a hockey card because PSA graded it. It is a PSA 3. Pop of this card is 5 with only 2 graded cards. The pop of this PSA 3 is 5, and there's only 2 that are graded higher. I still hate how they word that sometimes. There are 9 total graded copies of this card, but this one, again, is a PSA 3. And, again, it's a postcard. But it looks absolutely great. The front has a kind of a profile pic of Tretiak to the left-hand side. I said it takes him about a third of the card. But he's looking very dapper, very young. He's got the nice, I don't know what you call the suit on. Just looking very regal. The right 2/3 of the card has an action shot of Tretiak in net. And just look at it. The equipment, the helmet, I don't even know what that thing's supposed to be. I think he's got the Montreal stick, the awesome 70s goalie pads, or late 60s goalie pads. It just looks great. I love the history that you can tell just from looking at this card. There is a little facsimile auto under his profile picture, but man, if you look at the picture, that thing looks real. Like it's bluish and it looks like it's a blue ink. I actually did to go out and find other copies of this with different PSA numbers to make sure, because it looks really good for a facsimile. But all of them are dead on identical, so I'm going to say it's a facsimile. On the back of the card, there's some Russian text. If you know Russian, you can read it. But again, it's a postcard, so there's lots of room to write an address, put your stamp, write your little message. And I actually just love that it's Tretiak, because he's one of those guys. He's like this great mystery, arguably one of the greatest goalies in the history of hockey. I don't think you'll find many people that don't say that. However, never got a chance to play in the NHL. He was stuck in the Soviet Union with the Red Army. Montreal did draft him in 1983, but the Soviet Union government was having none of that, and they wouldn't let him come over to play.
They needed to tear down that wall.
Tear down that wall, Mr. Gorbachev. Yep. Eventually it happened, but not didn't happen in time for Tretiak to play in the NHL. Would have been awesome. I think Tretiak really came into the radar of Canadians in the 72 Summit Series when Soviet Union and Canada played each other. He is the first player born and trained outside North America to be inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. Thought that was pretty interesting.
Wow, that is cool.
Yeah, he won 3 Olympic gold medals, 1 silver medal. He's also won 10 golds, 2 silvers, and 1 bronze at the World Championships. If you're a U.S.-based hockey fan, I'll say casual hockey fan, most U.S. fans will know him from being the opposing goalie in the Miracle on Ice game. That's all I got for Tretiak for his little bio. But PS3 or PSA 3 copy of this card, the most recent sale I could find was February 11th, 2023 for $150 US. Current bid.
Very cool.
Yeah, current bid on this card right now is $47 US. So I am curious what this gets to. And remember, it's a postcard. It's not technically a hockey card. It's a postcard.
Well, in our vintage card picks, you stretched a little bit with the Tretiak postcard. I'm stretching a little bit with a 1996.
Oh, 96 is vintage.
Calling it vintage.
Controversy. Hobby drama.
So we're going to say it's vintage just because I wanted to talk about this card. And this really speaks to why I like the segment so much is this is where I learn more about stuff that I never knew about. And I think both of us kind of pick cards that are interesting to us that we just don't know a lot about. And I picked the 1996 Upper Deck Lord Stanley's Heroes semifinals Wayne Gretzky, which is out of 1,000 PSA 8, which is pop 4 with none graded higher. So Lord Stanley's Heroes was an insert in the 1996-97 Upper Deck set that had 3 levels. There was a quarterfinals that had pack odds of 1 in 37 and were all numbered out of 5,000. Semifinals, which this card is, of the Gretzky, pack odds of 1 in 185, die cut, numbered out of 1,000. And then there's a finals with pack odds of 1 in 1,850 packs, another die cut card, numbered out of 100. So this is that middle tier semifinals. There's 20 players on the checklist, highlighted by Gretzky, of course, and this is a Gretzky card. It's a hologram die cut of the Stanley Cup that has Gretzky in the middle of it. Kind of hard to make out. You have to get it in the right angle.
Yeah, the picture doesn't do it justice, I'm assuming.
I just think kind of a really cool card that, and as I've gotten more interested in the mid to late 90s inserts, really stood out to me. You don't see the middle tier or the semifinals sell very often. I could only find 2 raw sales from the past couple of years. There's a $78 US sale back in April 2022, $33 US sale back in August of 2022. And again, this is a PSA 8, none graded higher. So if it's a card that's of interest to you, it's going to be one of the better representations of it. You got the current bid?
I do. $11 US.
Nobody bid.
Nobody bid.
Gosh.
Well, there is also a PSA 9 version of out of the 5,000, whatever that one is. So there's 2. Yeah. I don't know what the 5,000.
You guys go bid on that one.
Yeah, go bid on that one.
Leave
this one for Josh. All right. What do we at? Modern cards? All right, you got the
We're
first
going to
one.
modern. Okay, so I go first again. So for modern, I picked a 2020 The Cup Connor McDavid 03 Exquisite Tribute Patch Auto out of 25, PSA 9. So if you're a fan of Exquisite, like most people know I am, this card takes you back kind of to where it all started. It's the card design that's most synonymous with the LeBron James rookie from 2003. We had Carvin Chung on the show who talked about designing it's the rookie card for LeBron James. Only 5.2 million is the highest sale ever from 2021 of that LeBron James rookie. So again, it's that same design. It's a regular style card or sort of up and down orientation for a rookie patch auto. It's kind of like 3. The card is broken down, I'd say, like into 3, like a top and middle and bottom. The top has a pretty waist high up picture of McDavid. In the middle, there's a really nice 3-color patch, which is game used, of course. And then at the bottom, nice McDavid auto. I couldn't find any sales yet. And, this just came out a couple months ago. It's only out of 25. So I'm really fascinated to see where this will land. Last time I did check, though, it did have the highest bid for any hockey card in this week's PWCC Weekly Auction. Do you got the current bid on that?
$2,800 US.
So it's going to be a decent chase. That's for sure. All right, you got the next one?
I do have the next one. All right. Our next card. Oh, boy. 2020 Metal Universe Alliance gold. Sidney Crosby, just whatever. Malkin out of 25. BGS 8.5. BGS.
Evgeny is your kryptonite.
This is my kryptonite. BGS population 1 of 1 with none graded higher. Josh, when you look through, did you think this was one I would take? Now we're gonna play this game.
No, actually, this is a little bit of a surprise to me.
I took this because I think I mentioned it on another show. I'm a sucker for cards that look like you're having a fever dream.
Fever dream.
When you look at them.
Yeah, there you go.
And this definitely looks like you're having a fever dream. It looks like you're Josh. You got COVID. You're having sweats. You're waking up in the middle of the night with your fever dreams. And this is the card you see. That's what I imagine. I've never seen one of these in person. So full disclosure, I think the picture looks great. It looks crazy. I love it. I love the look of the picture. I like that it's a gold parallel, so it's out of 25. And it has 2 all-time greats on it with Crosby and Malkin. Here's where I get tongue up. I'm going to do like a research paper, but I think I might have figured it out. But I know someone out there is smarter, has the answer. What in the world does alliance mean? So the card is called an alliance. So I started thinking about it. Really, I have no clue, but I'm figuring there's 2 people on the card. Maybe it's a play on alliance. And then the card.
Well, it's in metal.
Yeah, well, then the card looking like an alloy. That's what I said. The card looks like an alloy. A play on alliance. Is that how you get alliance? Cousin from Boston. That's what it sounds like. Alliance. So that's what I'm going with.
This isn't a science show. This is a hockey card.
That's what I'm going with.
Let's get back to being dumb and talking about hockey.
Yeah. So I'm going with that. I'm sure someone will let me know if I'm way off base. Again, we're not going to go too much into it. It's just a great looking card. It's a fever dream. It's got 2 greats on it for Pittsburgh, and it's serial numbered 25 or out of 25. I could not find any graded BGS copies of this card that's sold, but I did find a PSA 9 copy that's sold in March of 2023. It's a PSA 9, March of 2023 sale for $127.50. And a PSA 8 copy of this card did sell on May 6th of this year for $5. That's a pretty big drop from the PSA 9 to the PSA 8. This one is a BGS 9.5, or sorry, a BGS 8.5, and its current bid is $19. So you're greater than 5, so you've beat that.
Does this mean BGS is now better than PSA?
Yeah, maybe it is. This is the one card. This is where we're putting our stakes down on this card that BGS has now come back after everything. Oh, we'll get into them later. We got all types of fun stuff in Mailbag.
All right, last card that we're going to feature in our modern section is a 2012 Fleer Retro Wayne Gretzky EX 2001 Jambalaya BGS 8.5. I've said this before on the show, but I personally never got the concept of Jambalaya until I saw one in person, and especially on a really good light. And isn't in Champlin here in Minnesota. Yep. I would give them a plug, but I can't remember the name of the store. It was a basketball one too, but we saw the card and we were like, whoa, those are cool.
It's like the most basic name ever. It's like Real Sports Cards or something like that.
Something like that.
I don't know exactly, but do you want to buy do you want to buy my Jack Eichel Jambalaya?
No. You got to see one in person to really get it. As far as Gretzky goes, his first Jambalaya was in 2008-2009 Fleer Retro. That card, Troy, featured Wayne in the Oilers uniform. For this card, the 2012-13, Gretzky's rocking the Kings sweater. Okay, so you got to rank for me your preferred Gretzky uniform in any card. Like,
Oh, that's easy.
You get
Edmonton, Kings, Rangers, Blues.
I would be the same way. To me, the Blues are like on a different planet than the
That's like Bobby Orr in a Chicago Blackhawks jersey. It just doesn't.
Well, you know what I call the Blues cards, right? That's also a little bit of New York too. It's the turtleneck era for Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah, for sure.
I would like that to be an official era. Is anyone has a contact at NHL that can make that happen? That would be great. So pack odds to hit a Jambalaya in 2012 Fleer Retro is 1 in 360 packs. There's 21 players on the checklist. Do you know that Pelle Lindbergh is a Jambalaya in 2012-13 Fleer Retro?
I did not know that, but I would know that if I was a good person, because friend of the show, Irish Flyer Collectors, created a fantastic spreadsheet that I still haven't had time to go in and look at of all. I think he did Pelle. Yeah, he did Pelle. He did a Pelle Lindbergh one, but he did Pekka Rinne too. But since
that would be an awesome card.
Yeah, be fantastic.
I meant to look it up. I have not yet, but I kind of want to see what it looks like. So pretty tough chase overall to get the Gretzky. All-time high sale for 2012 Fleer Retro Gretzky Jambalaya BGS 8.5 was $3,850 last May. One did recently sell for $1,585, so it came down a lot. Who knows where this will end up, but what's the current bid?
$975 US.
All right, we're going to move on to new product releases. As far as what's coming out next, I don't know.
Oh, are we back in the I don't know days? I don't know.
Yeah,
you tell me.
Yeah, flabbergasted Josh. This is what you get. I still see Trilogy listed at May 25th. I've also heard Ice could be next. That's listed early June. Who knows? There's nothing imminent. And if you think about it, too, we are kind of in a little bit of a gap, I guess you would call it, because SP Authentic came out on April 19th. So it'll be a full month, at least month and a half, 6 weeks in between releases, which is definitely feels the pace has been so rigorous these last few months. It kind of feels weird to not have any releases. But we do want to do, because like I said, it came out April 19th. I think it's time to do our SP Authentic value and collectors ratings. Very popular. We do this with every release. We kind of let it sit for a few weeks. Let us kind of see how the secondary market, how collectors are reacting, what we think of the cards when we open our boxes. And we're ready to do SP Authentic. So a little bit of a recap before we get into our ratings. Hobby boxes right now are selling for $250 US here in the US. And get this, Troy, 240 Canadian on Clouts and Shaw. How? That's crazy. It's like $70 less.
Yeah, I've brought that Canadian flavor to my ratings too, even though I'm just going to do my ratings off the top of my head because you have looked at this product way more than I have.
Yeah, you've been busy with other stuff. In a hobby box, there's 10 packs per box, 9 cards per pack. You get 2 autographs, 1 Spectrum FX bounty card per box, 1 autographed Future Watch rookies per box, 8 limited red cards per box, 7 regular pageantry cards per box. The highlight of SP Authentic in any release, of course, though, is the Future Watch autos out of $9.99. We've stated this many times on our show, but from our perspective, the Future Watch auto is one of the 3 current, at least, most important hockey cards for any player that goes kind of pairs with their Young Guns and their Cup RPA. My only beef on the Future Watch auto, and I don't even really fault, I don't know what the answer is here, is that the checklist is so big. Yeah. You got 100 rookies, so you're going to have a lot of duds embedded within that, or you pull out your Future Watch auto and be like, who? That's good. As much as you'd want to get a Cole Caulfield or Trevor Zegras or something like that. Again, I don't know what Upper Deck can do about it. My best guess is this is kind of how they're managing increased demand by making some of these rookie checklists bigger. But yeah, because this product is so largely driven by Future Watch autos, I think a lot of the potential ROI is tied into the rookie class. And for 2021, I think that's fairly good news, Troy, as the rookie class is pretty good. It's not out of this world. There's no Connor McDavid but Caulfield, Zegras, Sider, Raymond, McTavish, Jeremy Swayman. I mean, there's names that people like and chase. So not a bad rookie class. You agree with that?
Agree 100%.
Then you have the Future Watch Auto Patch. Future Watch Auto Patch out of 100. Very strong chase. Another important card. Not one of the top 3 most important cards, but I think considered from a rookie patch auto, one of the higher end or more important or more desirable for any player. And then from beyond the Future Watch autos and auto patches, there's a million other vet and legend autos that you can get some really sweet cards like triple signs, quadruple sign, Mario Lemieux autos. But again, kind of like with the rookie checklist, you might get some names that you haven't heard of or aren't as exciting too. And beyond the autos and the rookies, there's also some really strong insert chases. So there's the Future Watch acetates that are pretty popular. And then the really tough but unannounced Young Guns acetates that we've seen some pretty strong sales. Speaking of that, top sales to date I kind of went through the top 4. There's a Cole Caulfield Young Gun acetate that went for $2,200 US. Trevor Zegras Young Gun acetate, about $1,700 US. Cole Caulfield Future Watch auto, I think that was like in the $1,500 US range. Another card I really like in SP Authentic are the parallels to the Future Watch autos, the black parallels that have the gold autos. Those are so nice.
One of my absolute favorite cards to look at.
Yeah.
They are so gorgeous. I sent you that one, Kaprizov. I don't know if that was a Slab Sharks card, but Oh boy, that thing is great looking.
So like an example, Dawson Mercer one went for $1,200. So even when you're talking at $250 a box, there's a lot of potential to hit some really nice, valuable cards in the $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 range, and then it just depends how the player does beyond that. So that's kind of my wrap up. I'll get into the ratings now. From a collector, I'll start with collector rating. I give it a 9 out of 10, just because these cards are hugely important. There's some of the, if you're a very serious collector of a particular player, you're going to absolutely want the Future Watch Auto. You're probably going to want the Future Watch Auto patch, and then maybe chase some of the other cards here too. And then the other thing that I really like about this product is, again, even though it's a big checklist, when it comes to vets and legends, there's some really, really good names on it. And so pretty impressive that part. Now I'm going to be curious if we do the same thing.
Yes, we did the same thing because we have the same flipping brain. I just saw that. I was like, dang it.
Yeah, so I'm giving it 2 value ratings because in the U.S., I'm giving it an 8 out of 10 because at $250 a box, given those checklists do get a little bit big and you tend to have a healthy amount of kind of players that you're not going to get really excited about, 8 out of 10. Given that it's roughly $70 cheaper in Canada for some reason that is inexplicable to me, I'll give it a 9 out of 10 because at $180 a box U.S., I'm in. I like that. So you want to give your ratings?
Yeah, I would. My collector rating is a 9 out of 10, maybe a 10 out of 10. I love the huge checklist. I think if you think about it from the aspect of going through the checklist and then finding the singles you want, they're fantastic. Like I said, those black, even the Sign of the Times black, I just love those black cards with the gold. I think they look great. And again, value rating, I'm probably in the 7 to 8 out of 10. But I did the Canada thing too, and I'm like 10 out of 10 because it's just great if you can get the exchange rate and get them for super cheap. It almost felt like when last year's or the last release of SP, the one with Laffy on the cover, came out. I want to say it was $350 a box, right? Does that sound right? And
yeah, it was expensive.
I was in Iowa and I found it for $249.99, and I was like, "This is the greatest thing ever!" And that's what I felt like when we found that box at the expo without the balloon, so we didn't get our redemption pack. But
Laffy aside, a markedly better rookie class. So then, hopefully Caulfield comes back strong. Yeah. Okay, so Gongshow approves. SP Authentic. Good job, Tony. You did it, buddy. No, great job, Upper Deck. Okay, so now we got to finish with listener mailbag, but finish is we're like halfway through the show because
half the show.
we had really good questions. Yep. I mean, this is like the total like show host thing to say, but I think this is probably like legitimately our best questions that we've had. And then you went like in hard on research.
4 hours.
This pages and pages.
4 hours I spent on this mailbag.
Oh my God. So this is the Troy Iverson mailbag, and I'm just going to let you go, and I'll pot shot in and make stupid comments where I see fit. So I'll read the questions, save you some breath, and let you do the answers. Okay, so we're going to start on YouTube with Dan Quarterman. What's with the single, double, triple, and quad diamond cards for the 1997-98 Upper Deck Black Diamond? Does anyone know where I can find how rare single diamond versus double and so on? I just can't get this list anywhere, and no one I ask knows anything. It's strange.
I almost put the bat signal out to Frank to see if he had it, but then I actually found it. And so I will say, here we go. So 1997-98 Upper Deck Black Diamond has double diamond, triple diamond, and quadruple diamond parallels. I did find the pack odds for these parallels, and they are as followed. Double diamonds are 1 in every pack. Triple diamond are 1 in every 3 packs. Quadruple diamonds, the odds say that there was 50 sets made. So take that for what it's worth. 50 sets of the double or the quadruple diamonds. All right. That was the first rabbit hole. But then there's also inserts, and those inserts, they have premium cut single diamonds, which are 1 out of every 7 packs. Premium cut double diamond, which is 1 out of every 15 packs. Premium cut triple diamond is 1 out of every 130 packs. Then there's premium cut quadruple diamond vertical cuts. Boy, that's a mouthful. 1 out of 180 packs. And then premium cut quadruple diamond horizontal cuts. Those have varying odds from 1 out of 90 packs to 1 out of 30,000 packs. Now, I actually found all this stuff kind of by accident on Dave and Adams. They had a product listing for these boxes, but they're not out of stock. But they had the odds and stuff, everything on them. And then I did randomly, if you've ever been to Beckett, sometimes you go down that rabbit hole of a disaster website where they have I don't know what you want to call it, the sets, and they try to show the pricing and stuff. And they actually had some of the odd information in there too. But that was almost a stumble on also. Again, just for everyone's knowledge, this 1997-98 Upper Deck Black Diamond, the key rookies are Roberto Luongo, Vincent Lecavalier, Alex Tanguay, Patrick Elias, Henrik Sedin, and Daniel Sedin. There's some others that are probably listed on the sell sheet that just didn't pan out, so I didn't read them.
The only thing I can add is, like, when it comes to double, triple, and quadruple, the better players are the quadruple. Yeah. So, like, the higher end. And then the scrubs are the doubles. Right?
Yeah.
Next question, Instagram, eBoris91. He has 2 questions. First question is, what's the difference between me buying a case versus a box? Like, I know it's the amount of boxes, but does a case have a guaranteed hit or something like that? All right, Troy, go for it.
Okay, I said sometimes they do. There are times when a product will have a case hit. We know that. Sometimes it's listed, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's an Easter egg. So basically, and when we say case hit, it means if you buy a case, you should hit a case hit card in the case. Now, I'm going to give easy examples off the top of my head in other products and other sports. So those would be if you've ever heard of Kabooms, Downtowns, Color Blast. There's one of those in the case, and that would be the case hit. And then I've read some rumblings.
You forgot, Troy, you forgot Hundo P.
Hundo P. Yeah, the parallel, the gold or whatever. There was a parallel. I can't remember what it was.
Oh, yeah.
There is some rumors or talk that in 21-22 Allure, the 16-bit insert is allegedly a case hit. I haven't watched a case break to know if that's true or not. And then I know, just from doing research, 2018-19 MVP Hockey had player credential cards with auto versions being a case hit. And then I started thinking to myself, maybe Fanimations sound like they're super rare. They might be a case hit as well. There's just some cards that they're not guaranteed, but are super, super rare and can probably be considered a case hit if you hit it. I haven't remember in the recent sell sheets Upper Deck has put out, there hasn't been anything in there about case hits, except I think in the Series 2, was it next, or maybe Series 2, they had something in there about 2 pink Dazzlers per case, which was the first time I remember seeing something about a case. I could be way off. Okay. Someone might know this way better than I do. But I was thinking some more about it, and like I don't really remember them calling out the case hits, but it's just going to be those super rare. I called them the SSSSSSP cards. Can be considered probably case hits, like Home Ice, the glow cards. That's probably a case hit. Young Guns, Clear Cut, Attacking Zone acetates, Future Watch acetates, Day with the Cups. That's what I don't think they're actually called case hits, but they're rare enough where it probably is. So long answer.
I think on higher end products they'll do that. They'll do that too, like on especially like one pack like Premier or Black Diamond or Ultimate, to make sure that somebody doesn't get like 6 ridiculous cards.
And I think Jambalayas, just off the top of my head, I think are case hits too, if I remember right. I know they are in like Fleer Ultra Avengers, so I'm sure they're in that also. All right, second question. Fireman eBoris.
What releases are you guys looking forward to? This is again from eBoris, so I'll go first. I'm really, really looking forward to Credentials. Excited about that. OPG Platinum, which is my jam. And then Parker's Champions. I'm just so hopeful for that set.
I went with 23-24 Upper Deck Series 2 for obvious reasons. 21-22 Stature, 21-22 OPG Platinum, and then also Parker's Champions. That's grown on me. I didn't know that much about it. I've heard you talk about it enough that I actually went out and looked at the sell sheet. And boy, those 51 replicas or whatever are so cool looking. I love it.
Okay, next question. Instagram, Big Shot JR. Hey, fellas, I have a question about the upcoming configuration for UD1 and UD2. Insert cards are cool and all, but ComC is flooded with EPAC inserts to the point where they are worthless and just taking up space. Do you think it's a smooth move to be adding more to the pile? For real. What's going to happen to all these cards? LOL. All right, Troy, you went off again.
I think he's worried that when he's going to go to the expo and see all these laying around inserts, because there's so many of them, instead of Now you just see all the base cards laying around. Now it's going to be all the inserts. I said, great. This is a great question. Let's start. I had to take a step back. And Josh, you might correct me if I make some blunders on this. This isn't my strong suit. But let's start with Flagship, what it has been for the past 20 years. It's been 8 cards per pack, 24 packs per box, for a total of 192 cards in a hobby box. The old configuration also included 1 insert per pack on average.
Yeah, 1 hit per pack.
1 hit, sorry. And now we have the new configuration, which is 12 cards per pack, 12 packs per box, for a total of 144 cards in a hobby box. The new configuration will also include 3 hits or inserts per pack on average. Remember, the old configuration was 1 on average. You also have 4 new base set parallels, including Young Guns. There's also 3 of which are serial numbered of those new parallels. That includes, there's the Outburst Silver, which is unnumbered. The Deluxe is numbered to 250. The Outburst Red is numbered to 25. And the Outburst Gold is a 1 of 1. And now
Connor Bedard, 101.
And that'll be the first ever 101 of a Young Guns card. So again, and I apologize if I made it sound like those are in a box. Those aren't. Those are just the new configuration of the cards. You also we still have exclusives, high gloss, and clear cut, correct? I think I remember reading that right.
Yeah. No French.
No French.
No clear cut exclusive.
Okay. There's also, in the new configuration, there's also going to be 6 Young Guns per box on average, same as before, and also 4 UD canvas cards per box on average, which is the same as before. Okay, that was a lot. So let's get back to the crux of the question. I think it's a great question. I think Upper Deck is really trying to do a balancing act. I think one of the things we have seen with the old configuration is that people just go through the pack so fast, find the hit or the insert in the pack and move on. This you definitely see in breaks, and not to say breaks are everything, but when you watch them, it's just like flip, flip, flip. Okay, that's the card. Pull it out, throw the rest of it away, because it's just that one card that everyone's looking for. So I think Upper Deck is really trying to strike that kind of balance that creates a compelling product for collectors and people that go the break route. And as much as we don't like to say that sometimes, breaking is a big deal. It's a big deal, and Upper Deck knows that, and they probably have to take that into account. I don't mind the change. I like the new Young Guns with the addition of the 1 of 1 Young Guns chase. I doubt I will ever get one, but I think it's a cool chase, and it's cool to have that hope that you might get one. I don't know the exact number. I'm trying to do dirty math in my head. There looks like there will be over 20 plus different inserts or hits. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say in my head.
Yeah. What's dirty math?
Well, just like in my head, like I was going to say napkin math, but I'm not writing it around. So dirty math. That's why my brain works. Dirty math. So you will need a lot of hits / inserts, etc., so that there's variety and you don't get watered down with maybe 5 or 10. But I started thinking about when we did our 90s show with Frank, and I'm pretty sure he said at times the amount of inserts became out of hand. There were so many at the end that it kind of just did water stuff down, and it kind of made that a tough deal. So I don't know. I like it. I'm interested to see how it plays out, but I think the question is valid and the worry is valid about what could happen.
Now, what do you do? Yeah. They're just basically adding more hits and getting rid of base cards, and there's only a finite amount of chase out there, and so there's going to be a lot more kind of less valuable but cooler looking cards, and I just don't think that that's a horrible thing. There's still going to be the amount of kind of top tier inserts, parallels, that sort of deal. Okay, next question from Twitter. Deluxe Dangles. Where is the best place to stay up to date on product releases? I've been waiting patiently for OPG Platinum to drop, but every time I check a distributor's website, the date gets pushed back. Deluxe, when you find out, let me know, because I have no clue.
Yeah,
but Troy will do his best.
This is going to be such a shot, but you know where not to look for the most updated product information? Upper Deck's website. I personally, I'm telling you, I've complained of this to them. I've written in.
Yeah.
They have the checklist on their site. There's a tab. The most recent one they have up there is like 2018, 19 something. I know they probably just rely on the other people. I'll get to it. Here's what I say. Personally, I check the hockey sections of Beckett and Cardboard Connection. All I'm looking for is the checklists. Once the checklist drops, We know a release is imminent within the next couple of weeks. Right now, that is the surefire way to know when something is coming out. You could still use the distributor sites or the online retailers, like in the US, Steel City, Dave and Adams, or you can go Canada, Clouds and Chara, 419 Games. I think those are very good for getting a ballpark idea when you can expect a product. But as we've seen, release dates get pushed, updated. It's, again, something we deal with. But at least you can get kind of a calendar, what you think's going on. And I think you can find that information on Beckett or Cardboard Connection also. But I use those sites more for the checklist drop. And then I know it's coming out.
Okay.
Boom.
Good answer. Next question from Gongshow Discord, just hockey cards. Would you say the hobby is more excited or about the same for Bedard as it was for Laffy? And if so, how much fun is it going to be to witness the hobby opium if he doesn't produce on a terrible team?
No bad words about Bedard not producing. Come on. We all got to drink the Kool-Aid, right? Great question. I know there was a lot of hype around Laffy, and I remember going to Target and seeing a whole box of just Laffy cards in that Laffy set. I don't think it was very expensive or it was very collectible. But I do remember that popped in my head. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Number one DraftKings got this whole set of cards. I was not in tune into the hobby as I am now. But I do feel, I think Bedard's got to exceed Laffy, right? It has to. I would just think it does. Maybe someone will tell me I'm way off. But I thought Jeremy even said that even McDavid might have had more hype, he thinks, than Bedard did right now. Did he say that, or is that something I made up?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Sorry, Jeremy, if I misquoted you. Let's strike that one from the record. I just know the hype is real. People can't wait. I mean, look at us. We did a live stream / chat of a draft lottery, and the driving force behind that was one guy, Bedard, and seeing where he'll land. Obviously, I want Bedard to really succeed, light it up. Huge driving force. We've talked about this. We talked about it earlier on how we think it will be great for the hobby as long as the NHL doesn't screw it up. I think the NHL should call the Wild and talk to their marketing department, because guess what? The Wild's marketing department is awesome, and we have some of the best local marketing TV commercials in the NHL for sure.
They're hilarious. Yeah. They're so good. And they really make the personalities of the players shine, which I just love. Okay, actually, the next question was a last-minute one that came in. And so from Instagram, Kit's Lifestyle, of the big three auction houses, PWCC, Golden, and Heritage, which one, A, has more hockey items, B, gets the highest prices, and C, holds the record for highest hockey cards auction price? First of all, in this question, we have to disclose that we're sponsored by PWCC. So going back to question A, which one of the three, which has the most hockey cards? The current PWCC Weekly Auction is 190 cards, which is actually quite a bit down from where it normally is. We follow closely because we do the weekly show with Jeremy. It's usually in the 300 to 400 range. Not sure what's going on this week. Golden's current weekly auction is 205 hockey cards, so 15 more than PWCC. And Heritage has 123 hockey cards in all their current auctions. So it's Golden, PWCC, and Heritage today that has the most, but it does fluctuate every week. Now, question B was, who gets the highest prices? This is a little bit a trickier one. We haven't done an in-depth study in comparison over, you'd have to do it would be hard to do it right, but over a long period of time. I do think in general, though, Troy, the traditional auction houses, all three of them do best with vintage, really vintage through 2015 or McDavid's rookie year. None of them to this point seem to do super well on ultra modern, so like Cole Caulfield kind of type cards. Whereas someone like Slab Sharks on the eBay consignment side, that tends to be their sweet spot in the ultra modern end. Again, without doing analysis and going back to the vintage side, one of the reasons why we were so interested in working with PWCC is that they do tend to get consistently good prices. And honestly, all three auction houses will have their moments. I don't know if there's a clear winner or not. And that kind of brings us into question C, which one is the record price? So I kind of went through the biggest names. And if you look at the top three Gretzky sales to date are all at Heritage. Okay. If you want McDavid, the top three are Heritage, PWCC, and Golden. So good mix there. Crosby is Golden and PWCC. Heritage for Gordie Howe, Golden is all three of the top sales. For Rocket Richard, Heritage, and PWCC have the top three sales. For Ovechkin, Golden again is all the top three. Lemieux, Golden, and PWCC of the top 3. So again, pretty mixed bag all around. All right, next question. Instagram, JB Hockey Cards. Would you rather drop hundreds of dollars on a Connor Bedard Young Guns or hundreds of dollars on a Connor Bedard OPG Platinum rookie, any variation?
I just said this is tough, especially for me to answer this question where I'm just like, I don't know. But I said, let's make some assumptions that Bedard is healthy. He's playing great. By this time, his Young Gun is released. So I am not the biggest flipper, the biggest investor. But if you could pull a Bedard raw and then be able to grade that sucker a PSA 10 early and flip, that to me would be fun. That's gonna be a race to PSA, and I'm guessing those people that live where they can do the walk-in service buying cases, because if you buy a case, you're guaranteed one at least, right? I think that's how they. Yeah, and you might get two, the way the configuration works. But again, we have no clue on what quality is going to be. But whoa, that would be a fun. That's kind of a fun game to get into there. But again, you're really playing roulette with the quality control gods at the printing facility. I really like this question. I go again to our replaceability thing where I'll be able to get a Bedard Young Guns 24 hours a day whenever I want. They are going to be for sale everywhere. They're going to be everywhere. I think if I was going to go the Young Guns route, I would personally want one of the new numbered parallels. Will I be able to afford it? Probably not, but I think it'd be cool. But I also am leaning towards that OPG Platinum just for those lower print runs, something like a Seismic Gold. We love those. I think I would really.
Those are going to be off the charts expensive.
I would say, I would like to have this card, but am I going to be able to afford it? Probably not.
But could you get a red prism out of 199? Yeah. Which would be kind of a color match. Yeah. And over the long haul, would that have. Because you have to assume that the population count of the Bedard Young Guns PSA 10 is going to be astronomical. Right? And there's only going to be 109. I don't know if red prism will still be 199, but. Whatever it is, there's only going to be 199 or Violet Pixels even at 399 or whatever. So to me, over the long run, I would probably be more interested in OPG. But you're right, though. Out of the gate, that first month is going to be Young Guns Bonanza.
That's going to be crazy. Love it.
Okay, next one. Instagram, DGred76. This is a great question. I'm glad he sent it in. I've been collecting for a little over a year now and want to get into submitted cards for grading. What's some advice for someone who's never done it? There are so many companies and memberships and options for grading that I've just gotten overwhelmed and don't even know where to start. And, well, first of all, I'll let you answer, Troy, but we've been there. Don't feel weird or bad that you're overwhelmed. No. It's a horrible, non-customer-centric process. And, yeah.
So your last part of that question, I love it. I've gotten overwhelmed and don't even know where to start. Welcome to the club. I feel your pain. I have talked about my kind of spite for grading. I've made it known I'm not that big of a fan of it, and it's not for the value aspect. There is definitely value in a play in grading. I just think the whole process seems like we've talked about this engineered complexity, whether it be different rates based off some arbitrary value you think the card is worth, different turnaround times, being a member of a certain grading company's club. There's just so much stuff that it boggles my mind. Now, some companies are getting a lot better at simplifying. I will say that it's kind of a blanket statement, but you have to really look at each of these companies. And really, this should be a Hockey Cards 101 question. Or a 101 episode at some point is do a whole Hockey Cards 101 on grading. Again, I feel your pain. We are now kindred spirits in our grading confusion. I kind of took this question and said, I'm going to give the very basic of basic primers. I don't even know what to call this. I'm calling it Troy's Jaded Grading Breakdown. And I apologize, I can't answer this more completely, but really, we could go on for hours about this topic. And I just said, let's start with the grading companies. I'll be brief. You're going to get the most information by going to each grading company's website. That's just how it is. You're going to see all the stuff on their website, pricing, turnaround, all this stuff. Also, if that is confusing after you go to each site, there's also YouTube videos. There are people out there that try to explain the process and help. So that's one thing you can do. And there's also people that have written websites on it. But again, probably a Hockey Cards 101 at some point if we ever get around to it. So here's what I did. Here's the grading companies. There's PSA. They're the big one. They're the king. PSA slabs in general have the most value. They have a bunch of service levels and pricing that hurts my head. You'll see it on their website. The slab is pretty dated looking. Would you have anything else to add, Josh? Really quick. That's my basic primer on PSA. They're the king right now.
No, yeah. They're above and beyond the most value. Yep. If you're looking to maximize value, you go with PSA. Yep.
Next one I have is SGC. They are previously known for their vintage grading. They've been around forever, or not forever, but they've been around a while. Very trustworthy, very well regarded. They've become a lot more prominent with their fast turnaround times, especially during or after COVID. Slabs, black and white, called the tuxedo. They look nice to me. So that's my SGC primer. Next one, BGS. Used to be the top dog and has recently had a couple of missteps that have hurt them greatly. They are kind of in reset mode right now. I'm not sure I would really recommend them until they figure their stuff out. They were really known for offering the subgrades on the slab. If you've ever seen a Beckett holder or BGS, it has usually 99% of the times, I guess, it has the grade and then subgrades. They kind of, I think, pioneered that. The website used to look like it's from the 90s. They've done a better job, but if you get deep enough, it goes right back to that very complex, very 90s looking website. They have a dedicated fan base for sure. Slabs are not my favorite. They seem dated, and they have a reset going on, so I would wait to see what happens before I even grade with them anymore. Next one on the list, Tag. They are the newest entrants, TAG. Full disclosure, a friend of the show, Jeremy Lee, who Josh co-hosts a weekly PWCC preview show with. Jeremy Lee. Jeremy is a Tag employee, so I just want to get that out there. They are they're basically the most, I'll call it technologically advanced. They use the photometric stereoscopic imaging. They provide submission kits to you, which I think is a pretty cool thing. Right now it's free. I don't know how long that stays, but they will send you all the supplies for you to send in your stuff. They score on a 1,000-point scale. You get detailed imaging. You get a detailed grading report that you can basically go in and see every little thing on your card and why it got the grade it did. I'll say this, their slabs are growing on me. They look really nice. They're very clear. The stuff is etched in, like the wording. They're really nice. I think that really helps with counterfeiting issues. They seem to have that pretty well covered. Right now, they are doing drops. If you want to submit to Tag, you have to get into one of their drops, which is a way for them to control the flow into their, because right now, being a newer company, if they took in everything, which I think they started, it was you could send it in or get into the beta, but now they're doing these controlled drops. Just remember, another thing with Tag, no upcharges or declared values. There is the name issue, but on eBay, we've talked about this before, when you search for Tag, you might run into laundry tags. But if you go into, they've added I just saw this, if you go into the filters and you look for authentication company, they're an option now. So that's a thing too. And then we also have CSG. This is the one I know the least about. Our friend of the show, David Chow, really likes them, I believe. He's, I believe, talked to us about how they've had a redo in their holders that look really nice. And we've had some people in the Discord really like them too. They're just the one I don't know the most about, so you'll have to do more.
They're the big comic graders, right? That's where their legacy is.
I think so, yeah.
DGC, comic grading company or something like that.
Company. I cannot stand the 3-letter acronyms. We got to get away from that. Then there's a couple more. There's MNT, there's KSA. They're both Canadian. I don't know much about them. I don't use them. Yeah. And that's what I got. So I hope that helps get you down the path of going to research more. I understand your confusion. It stinks. Maybe one day it will be very simple. Hope this helps.
I think that's a great recap. And the only thing I would add to that to throw in is if you have a local card shop that you trust that maybe does like bulk submissions where you can go and they can walk you through the process. A lot of them will do like a raw card review for you and say, hey, there's a huge print line on this card. It's not going to grade well. Don't send it in. I wish those are mistakes that we made early on that just cost you time and money. Yep. And so I would try to find an LCS that I trust that does bulk submissions to any of these companies. And that can be a big benefit.
Yeah, great point. Absolutely great point.
Okay, next question. Facebook, Nathan Weeby. Yeah, well, he has 3 questions, actually. First one is, buy a case of UD Series 2, 2023-24 with the Bedard Young Guns and hold or rip. I would actually hold it because what's potentially inside the case, 99% of the time, will be better than what's actually in it.
Yep.
So we open a lot of product, and you see our videos, and we never pull anything.
No. So I would say I'd hold it, but I'm a degenerate, so that thing would be sitting in the corner of my office. After about a week, I would just break down and rip that thing wide open. So as much as I want to hold, I would rip it.
And then his next question is, what effect do you think the Young Gun 101 will have on wax prices? And I think you can really answer this more in Connor Bedard. Until it's pulled, it's going to just, it'll be proportional to the time, right? As the case prices will go up and box price will go up and up and up. And then when that card is hit, and for everybody's sake, hopefully it's not day one. I mean, it'd be great if it took a year, right? Awesome. That you could see huge increases in wax prices, because the thought, of course, is every box that's opened is one box closer to hitting the Bedard 101. And then there's also the thing that you never know. Maybe some 12-year-old kid opens a pack and shoves them in his drawer, and he has no idea what he has, and it's the Bedard Gold Outburst 101, and it's never found. I mean, that's a possibility too. That card may never ever be found, because
kids will open Young Gun. I mean, kids will open Flagship, and you just never know. Oh, I love it.
Okay, and the last question from Nathan is, will the addition of the out of 250 and 25 Young Guns devalue the other short print and numbered cards? There are now 275 more Young Guns. All things being the same, maybe yes, but I think that there's going to be so many more people coming in that it's just going to it'll balance itself out. It's a good way of Upper Deck kind of, again, responding to demand. Okay, next question. Instagram, Seba Hockey Cards. I've been watching the prices of Lucas Reichel since the Hawks won the first pick. His raw Young Guns are selling in the $25 range right now. Could you see him being the next Draisaitl now that he's going to be playing with Bedard majority of his career? I think Draisaitl is a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah, I said that's a little strong. That's a little strong, but maybe
one of the best players on earth. And to call, again, nobody scored more goals in the past 5 years. Nobody than Leon Draisaitl. But I do think, and we mentioned in our Bedard talk, that he's an interesting teammate, and he's probably the one decent or intriguing option that the Blackhawks have right now, pending other people they had in the draft or free agency or trades. Okay, next question. Instagram, one of our favorite people, Top Shelf Cookie Sniper 88.
Love this question.
I always wondered who the driver was for the struggle bus. I would think it should be an all-time struggler or someone who never lived up to their potential, maybe Alexei Yashin, or is it Dag?
I always say Dag, but I never know. I've heard it. I've watched video on him, people, and I've seen it pronounced 3 different ways. So I always say Alexander Dag.
Okay. All right.
I love this question. Great question. So I think last show, Josh kind of wants the driver to be the person who struggled most the previous year. Great suggestion. And I think Josh would already nominate Laffy for this post. I think Laffy
or Mo.
I think Laffy has turned in his application, is in the front running to be the struggle bus driver.
Him and Mo are final.
Oh, him and Mo. Oh, I forgot about Mo. But I love the all-time struggler idea. Yes, Alexander Dag is definitely a candidate. I also think now Yakupov is another strong candidate for the all-time struggle bus driver. There are some big busts from the 60s, but I said we want to keep it recent. We want to have people we've heard of. And then I want to be fair for a goalie candidate, maybe Rick DiPietro. You could probably put him in the running for that. Funny fact about him, he still gets paid by the Islanders until the end of the 2028-29 season. Kind of a little Bobby Bonilla situation going there.
Yeah, I was just going to say he's the Bobby Bonilla of the NHL.
And then also, again, to be fair, I threw in a Minnesota North Star as well, Brian Lawton. Oh, North Stars. We had the number 1 pick. We took Brian Lawton. Oh, we could have had Pat LaFontaine, or maybe this guy you've heard of, Steve Yzerman. I don't know. I think he turned out okay, I guess. It would have been nice to maybe just see what he did with the North Stars, but we didn't get him.
Okay, next question. Instagram, Cards Age. What's your thoughts on releasing throwback rookies for vets, like in the Cup or Clear Cut?
I think I totally turned myself into circles on this question. Full disclosure, I'm a complete sucker for all-time Future Watch autos that were released in 2020-21 SP Signature Edition Legends. I love them. I absolutely love them. I think I land this way. If they didn't have a rookie of a certain card, like a Future Watch, Auto, or a Young Guns, I'm all for it. I'm all for them going back and maybe like making a card they never had. However, and maybe you have a different idea, you can't really release multiple Young Guns or Future Watch Autos for a player. And let's say you had a Future Watch Auto. Can you have an all-time Future Watch Auto? That's where I get kind of, is that too close, or is it like a sister card, a cousin card?
Well, you just got to be smart about it. Like the card I think of that is really cool are like the Topps Chrome. So like the Chrome version of the Gretzky rookie or the Patrick Waugh rookie, right? Where it's not going to be ever confused with the original, but it's a artistic sort of reimagination of it. Okay, next question. Instagram, Judgy99. Is Jack Hughes' high Young Guns gem rate due to his good looks?
Here's my
interesting connection. Pre and post tooth loss.
Here's my only input on this. Almost every player on my girls' high school hockey team lists their favorite player as Jack Hughes, and I think we all know why. He's good looking and a great player, and they all love him.
Yeah, the NHL needs to market this kid.
Like his interviews are just awesome. Because half the time he'll look disinterested, then he'll make a snide comment. You'll kind of laugh. He does remind me of Zegras in a little ways, but he's turning into his own character at times. I love it.
Last question, Instagram, Maniac Hockey Cards.
No, Maine.
So about those
Is it Maine?
Maine.
No, is it?
Maniac.
That's not how it's spelled MAINEIA. Isn't that like, it's Maniac with Maine. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's a play on words. So how about those t-shirts? Ha ha ha, I want one. Well, we don't have t-shirts. I've never even had a Gong Show t-shirt. We're sort of working on it, trying to figure that out. But
TBD.
We'll keep everyone posted. To be determined.
Whew.
Well, Troy, we made it. That is our episode for today. If you like the show, please leave a rating and review on Apple, Spotify, whatever podcast app you listen to us on. If you love the show and you want to support us and help us to produce more content and thrive and want to, again, support us via Patreon, there's a $5 a month donation. You can join our out of 99 support level tier. There's a link on our website, hockeycardsgongshow.com, to become a patron. Go to the Patreon website at patreon.com and search for Hockey Cards Gong Show. There's also a link in the show description for whatever podcast app you're listening to us on right now. And then finally in our link tree, which is in our Instagram and TikTok profiles, there's a link there. If you're not following us on social media, please do so. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. And Troy, the Hockey Cards Gong Show podcast is a production of Dollar Box Ventures LLC. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend.